there, guys. It's Hello Japan, Tyler Null, Endless Backlog. I don't really know what to call my channel anymore. Every time I get creative, I'm like, oh, I want to rename it. I want to do this now. I want to do that now. But because I've kind of been moving away from the name Hello Japan, and Endless Backlog just kind of got a little confusing, and I just didn't really like what I was doing with it. I kind of stopped and lost the urge or the drive to actually make anything. But I've been changing my name to Tyler Null pretty much everywhere. Steam, PlayStation, I think Xbox as well. So I've been changing my name everywhere, and I was like, you know what? That's the new identity, so to speak, that I'm going with online. So I decided to update the YouTube channel with that. Again, I haven't really posted too much, but I've had the itch, and I've been wanting to make something. So here we are. This is what I'm going to dub Backlog Report, I guess. Because I used to play games a lot on stream and with videos and whatnot on YouTube, but I never stopped playing games. So I kind of wanted to use this video series as like I want to try and do like a monthly, nothing too crazy, a monthly check-in to see, hey, this is what I'm playing. What are you guys playing? This is what I'm been finishing. This is what I'm currently playing. I kind of tried to do something like this with a series I started, was it a year or two ago, called That's a Wrap, and I liked that, but it just wasn't really clicking with me, and I just didn't want to keep going with it. So I wanted to use this here as a way to spit thoughts out about the games I've been playing and just kind of tag in anyone else who wants to have a conversation about games. So here we go. This is the first part, I guess, first month of Backlog Report, and this was for January 2024. So first up, on January 5th, I actually finished Pokemon Violet, The Hidden Treasure of Area Zero, Part 2, the Indigo Disc. I read that, I didn't have that memorized. But this was the second and I believe final piece of DLC that was coming out for Pokemon Violet and Scarlet. I liked Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I thought it was pretty fun. I did hate all of the technical bugs and let's just be totally and brutally honest, really crappy frame rates and crappy just technical performance overall. I really was not a fan. I think most people weren't. So I really hope the Pokemon Company can get their crap together for whatever they do next. But that aside, the first part of the Area Zero DLC was okay. I thought it was fine. I finished it in, I think, 2 sittings and didn't really have the urge to go back and try and shiny hunt or catch anything else. But part 2 was really fun. This was a total 180, at least for me. The difficulty went through the roof. You had to design, at least for me, I had to design a new team at every single leader encounter, I guess you could say, because it's not like there was gym leaders in this particular DLC. But for every leader I fought, I had to build a new party, and by the end of it, I had collected a pretty substantial team and probably the highest level group of Pokemon I've ever had at the end of any Pokemon game ever. So my final team, when credits rolled, for anyone curious, I had a level 100 Meowscarada, a level 98 Alolan Sandslash, a level 81 Baxcalibur, level 94 Blissey, a level 100 Suicune, and a level 100 Flygon. So that kind of shows what level I was able to get to with all of my party members, all my Pokemon. And the level you had to be to actually push through some of these battles. And on top of just the battles being more challenging and fun, in my opinion, there was a lot more strategy involved as well. I think the world was a lot more interesting, because the first part of the DLC, or part 1 of the DLC of Area Zero, was just fine. I didn't really think too highly of it, if I'm being totally honest, because it was just like a pretty kind of generic mountain thing with some valleys and some rocky areas, but there wasn't really anything like, oh, this is really unique and cool. But this one was really cool because it was a big biodome under the water with 4 very distinct regions, and I really, really liked the variety there. Sure, it was kind of cheesy, but it was still good fun in the end, and I had a really fun time with this. So this was actually a very great way to start January. Next up, on January 12th, I finished Dave the Diver. So this was a game I'd been letting sit on my backlog for a little while, and then once I'd listened to a few of the best games of the year's wrap up from 2023, specifically the conversation that MinMax had about their or 2 top 10s, I was just sold, and I was like, oh, okay, fine, I'm gonna give it a go. So I booted it up on my Steam Deck, and funny enough, I'd actually first purchased it on my Switch, but I was like getting into the mood the very beginning of the year, like, oh, you know what, I'm going to play more of my Steam Deck. I want to play more PC rather. I want to play some more Steam Deck more often. I bought this thing. Let's give it a go. I spent a ton of time during 2023 playing a lot of Switch, so I was like, let's give some love to the deck. And I didn't regret it. It was really fun. I had a great time with it. I loved the fishing mechanic, and I honestly had no idea it was going to go to the direction it did story-wise. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I was kind of taken aback that there was so much mythical twists, I guess I could say, in the story. I thought it was honestly going to be just a fishing sushi restaurant simulation kind of game, something in par with, I don't know, like a cozy game like Stardew Valley or what is that, Innkeeper, or I can't remember what it's called, but there's a game on Steam where you run an inn, like a bed and breakfast kind of thing. And I thought it was gonna be something like that, but then to have a story that's takes place over the whole entire 20 some odd hour, however long it took me to finish it, 27 hours it took me, I loved it. It was really, really fun, and I think it is definitely a game that got a lot of attention when it came out, for sure, and I think it is very well deserved, because I had a great time, and just the fishing mechanic alone, it was enough to make me go, okay, one more dive, one more day, one more day. I want to keep seeing what the ocean has to offer, and I got sucked into it, and I really loved it. And the third game for the month of January I finished was Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Finished that on January 15th. Took me about 10 hours to get through. I generally am not the biggest fan of the 2D Mario games. I typically am a pretty diehard 3D Mario fan. Odyssey, like a lot of others, was my favorite 3D Mario game. Probably with Sunshine or Galaxy close up after that. Those are the ones I grew up with. One of my first Mario games was Mario 64, so I have more of an affinity towards those games than the 2D ones. But as I've gotten older, I have gone back and played a significant amount of the backlog. Over, I guess, 2020 through 2023, I've played a hefty amount of the 2D Mario games to try and catch myself up on some of that history. But with Wonder, I could see myself falling in love with the 2D games if they keep down this path. Essentially, the thing that made it different for me was the art style. The screw it attitude, we're going to do crazy things in each level. Each world is going to be far different than the last. The really unique, it's actually pretty interconnected worlds map had me really intrigued. And I couldn't put it down. I think I finished it in, oh my gosh, over the course of like 3 sessions. It's not a very long game. I mean, 10 hours is pretty long, but it's not so long that it's like, oh, okay, this is getting a little long in the tooth here. But no, I had a really, really fun time. And of course, the Wonder Seeds are the big draw this time for this particular title. And seeing piranhas dancing and marching around, or bulls carrying you through the whole level, or Mario turning into a bubble, or flying around. It's a very unique element, basically turning normal scenarios into like really wondrous, weird, out there scenarios. I had a really fun time with it, and I really do see myself getting more into the 2D Mario games if they do continue this trend. Then on January 21st, I finished Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition. So I believe in 2021 had finished Final Fantasy 15 in anticipation for 16, which didn't come out for another year or two. It was 2021. It didn't come out for another 2 years from finishing 15, which was okay because I have an endless amount of games to play. But 15 I liked, but it wasn't the most fun. I enjoyed 10 or 13 more up to that point, and kind of like a lot of other people didn't like how the opening segment of the game really set up like, oh, okay, this is going to be open worlds or open regions kind of game, and then it pretty much just railroads you literally through to the end of the game after a handful of chapters, and I wasn't the biggest fan of that, and I think a lot of other people were in a similar vein. But with Pocket Edition, I actually kind of liked it more than the regular game because they subverted a lot of that and went away from being like, all right, you can have an open region, and then it becomes linear. It was just linear from the start, and I think I liked it more for that, where it was easy to follow a story and it was easy to engage in the combat a little bit more, instead of the issue with Final Fantasy 15 was just running from combat encounter across a big field and then to the next combat encounter. Whereas later in the game, when it was more linear, you were in kind of, I don't want to call it hallway scenarios, but you were in more similar to like a hallway where you'd attack an enemy, run down the hallway, attack some more, run down the hallway some more. And this Pocket Edition kind of falls into that gameplay design mindset, where that sounds kind of annoying. It was actually fun. I actually really liked it. I went into it with really low expectations, and maybe that's why I walked away enjoying it more than I thought I would. And then the next day after that, I actually wrapped up Cocoon. Typically, these games are all being played around the same time. It's just when I finish them doesn't imply like, oh, I started it one day and then finished it the next. But the thing with Cocoon is you could have. It was a pretty short game, about 5 hours. 4 or 5 hours from 3 or 4 if you know what you're doing, or you're just kind of zooming through it, not doing any of the additional side collectible stuff. But I had a really fun time with this. This was a really heady kind of game, and sometimes I need that. It's fun to play. It's fun to play these big, epic RPGs where it's always world-ending threats, I guess you could say, or first-person shooters that are like really in your face. I mean, 2023, I ended with the 2 DLCs from the Doom Eternal game. But this one was just fun. I just had a fun time playing as this little bug dude, not really knowing what's going on, but it's just pure gameplay, pure fun, pure artistic vision, being seen through and through, with the ability to go inside and out levels. You end up recursively jumping in and out of levels over and over and over and over again. I had a really fun time with it, and I guess maybe my background as a programmer kind of sings to those desires of having levels that can kind of call within themselves, and me being like, okay, how the crap do they do this? This is really confusing. This is really cool. I'm really into this. So I just had a great time with this, and any game that can draw me in on art style alone, chef's kiss. And then the last game for the month was Turnip Boy Robs a Bank. So I loved the first Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. Played that with my partner on the Steam Deck when we were laying in bed, and I was a little nervous at first by this game, I'm not gonna lie. Knowing it's a 4-hour roguelite game, I was like, this is not what I signed up for. The first one was, I don't want to call it Zelda-esque, but it was Zelda-esque, and you kind of followed a story, and I went into this thinking like, oh man, they ditched all that, and they're just going for a gameplay thing, but I mean, pretty fun. They did have a story here, and it was like a loop based roguelite, like most of them in that genre of game. I imagine it's something more similar to Returnal, where there's a story being told through Returnal, and every loop kind of gives you more, and you learn a little bit more, and then a little bit more. So I like to think that it's somewhat like that. It's a very condensed version, though, where Returnal takes 12 hours to finish. I don't know, I haven't finished it yet. But it takes about 12 hours to finish. This one takes 4. So you kind of know what you're going into with it. But it was super charming. It was really cute and endearing, really wacky when it needed to be. And then, I don't want to spoil it, but the end game is just kind of crazy. You're fighting demons, you're going to hell, you're killing all kinds of evil, weird ghosts, and there's goblins who are vegetarian because all the main characters are vegetables. So, or not vegetarian. They're carnivores now. So, it's really cute and charming. And even though I went into it thinking, oh man, here we go again. This is gonna be, they're trying to turn this into something that it shouldn't be. I liked it. I think going forward, if each subsequent release of the Turnip Boy series is a different genre, I think that'd be a really cool thing to see, and I really hope they do that. So, the last part of this new series, I don't know what I want to call it so far, this new thing I wanted to try, was then taking every game that I'd played through the month and then throwing it into a tier list with S, A, B, C, D, and then that was just awful being on the choices that I can place things on. So probably going to go through this kind of fast because I only hit 6 games this month, but let's start in order. So the first game I finished, like I said, was Pokemon Violet. I'm going to go ahead and place that in A because I actually quite like that. The base Violet probably would have been more C, and then the first expansion for Violet would probably been D for me just because I didn't really like that at all. But I actually really liked the Indigo disc, and I really liked what they were doing with this release, and I really hope that Pokemon Company learns something and then they can apply that here. And then after that was Dave the Diver. This was an S rank. I loved Dave the Diver. This was such a fun time. I couldn't put it down. I almost no-lifed this game. Not quite because I have a job and you know, obviously in the office and stuff you can't play it on company time. But all hours after that I was here. I was fishing. I was catching all kinds of shark and all kinds of various fish and jellyfish and making all kinds of crazy dishes, and I really loved it, and this is definitely a highlight for me this year. And then Super Mario Bros. Wonder, gonna be A rank. A lot of high ranking games so far this month. But yeah, like I said, it was the one game that could turn me into a 2D Mario fan. So I don't see it being any lower than A. Then we have Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition. Now, 15, like I said, wasn't super amazing, but I did like Pocket Edition more, but I still think I can't do anything higher than C. So I really liked it and it was really fun, but it's still at its heart a very pared down version of a Final Fantasy 15 game. And where I played the original on PC, I had a lot of fun with it until the railroading me through the end of the game segment. And while this may have been better, that just means 15 would have been a D for me, where 15 Pocket just a little bit higher than that. Then Cocoon, I'm actually going to go ahead and put that in A as well, but it ranks higher than Mario and Pokemon. So, boop, there we go. On the scale of A's, it's being at the very top right now. So, I had a really fun time with it. I loved the puzzles. It was really short, but not really short. It was pretty short, but I still can see myself going back to it, where Dave the Diver's a little too long and I probably won't go back to it. Mario Wonder would be a fun multiplayer thing to go back to. Final Fantasy 15 I'm not going back to, and Violet most likely not going to go back to because I typically don't replay a lot of the new modern Pokemon games, but Cocoon, I can definitely see myself going back to. And then Turnip Boy commits tax evasion, solid B. You know, it was fun. It was really good. I think it was a lot more fun than I would have thought. Turnip Boy commits tax evasion would have definitely been an A, but robs a bank feels pretty good at B. So here we have it. This is the first 6 games that I finished this year. Let me know what you've played. This feels like it's going to be a pretty cool format, and I want to keep doing it. This one came out pretty late. It's already halfway through January at the time of recording this, but hopefully things will come out more on a regular pace at the end of every month or the beginning of the next month for the previous month. Makes sense in my head. But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. I appreciate it. Hopefully I can make some more videos from time to time and have some chats about games and things that I'm playing. So thanks for watching.